course, when you reference everything that has to go right before the snap occurs, and then to get set within 15 or 16 seconds to do it all again, and everything again that has to work right, the guy that needs to process the most information to not just make sure that he's doing the right thing, but that everybody else is in the proper places, of course, James Blackman, who's no longer just wet behind the ears and just thrown into the fray as he was 2 years ago when DeAndre Francois went down against Alabama. This is a guy that I seem to get tons of feedback in both directions on when I talk to Florida State fans and media in regards to their thought process in terms of his ceiling, his ability, what he's produced, what's been his fault, what hasn't. I've been impressed with the kid's toughness, if nothing else, getting off the deck repeatedly, despite the smallish frame. Just a tough quarterback, and he seems to have some exceptional skills. And I would think working with a guy with the track record of Kendall Briles, who has resurrected offenses, and then once he leaves the last two programs, they drop off the cliff, that he's got to be excited about running this offense.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's excited it's a different situation for James, right? Because like you said, he was thrust into action in a difficult situation. And even, remember at the time, people were surprised that he was the next man up. I think most people expected JJ Cosentino, and then James was kind of a surprise starter. So now you're a starter for a year, and then you lose your job again last year. And it was a tough situation because if you remember, I think James kind of did everything right in terms of his attitude and work ethic and saying all the right things in public. But then you remember the one game at North Carolina State, DeAndre got hurt. James came in and played pretty well, and Florida State lost the game. But he looked pretty good running that system and throwing the ball. And then you lose your job again, and the season goes the way that it does. And so I think from James's perspective, like nobody wants to say this, and I don't think Willie Taggart, wants to foster this attitude necessarily with James Blackman. But as of right now, I mean, this is James's team. He's the only guy on the quarterback only guy on the quarterback depth chart that's taken a snap for Florida State right now. And so, could something happen in the fall where somebody else were to surge up and steal that starting quarterback job? I mean, I guess so, but my personal opinion is I'd be really surprised by that. And I think the team would be too. So it's kind of a new circumstance with him. So I think he kind of likes that. I think he has sort of embraced the idea of being the alpha of the offense, if you will. That's how one of his receivers described him after the spring game. And that's kind of and it's been an interesting thing to see out of him because, I mean, it's interesting. He's not a shy guy. I mean, he's not cocky and he's not brash, but he is confident. He believes in himself, and I think he believes that he should be the starting quarterback. And so I think to have that attitude this spring, I think it's a good thing. But I also think that it kind of feeds into his teammates as well, man. I mean, I don't know that I've ever been around a quarterback as popular with his teammates as James Blackman is, and that includes Jameis Winston, who he certainly was too. But man, those guys love James Blackman. There's no way around that. And I think that matters. I mean, like, I understand that's not a substitute for talent or ability or execution, but man, having a quarterback in the huddle that the other 10 guys believe in is a pretty big deal. And so that's been kind of cool to watch that develop a little bit too.